Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Di sini nama saya Ririn HELDA YANTI. Saya akan menyimak video yang telah diberikan di Telegram tentang Getting Started with Firebase.
Recently, Firebase introduced version 9 of the library, and the way we use version 9 is a bit different to how we've been using Firebase in the past with previous versions. But before I get into those differences and talk about them, I wanted to give everyone who's completely new to Firebase a whirlwind tour of what it is. So, Firebase is what's known as a backend as a service, and that means that it provides backend services like a database, authentication, file storage, cloud functions, hosting, and other things as well, and we can plug those services directly into our front-end applications or websites to make use of them. And Firebase then takes care of all of the server-side logic and heavy lifting so that we as developers don't need to focus much on it at all. So it's an alternative to setting up our own backend infrastructure using tools like MongoDB and a Node.js server. So instead, Firebase handles all of that for us, and we can focus more on the front end of our applications and the end user experience. It's really simple to get started with, and most of its features are completely free for small personal websites. So, to use it, the first thing you need to do is head to the Firebase website at firebase.google.com and sign up for a free account. You should see a sign up button in the top right somewhere, and once you've done that, you should see a link instead that says something like go to console. So click on that to go to the Firebase console, and your Firebase console is where all of your Firebase projects are listed. Generally speaking, for each different website or application that you create, you normally have a new Firebase project for it. Anyway, before we make a new project, first I want to talk about some of the differences between Firebase version 8 and the new Firebase version 9. So the major change in version 9 of Firebase is that it now adopts a more modular and functional approach, meaning that we only import the Firebase functions that we need from the libraries and not those we don't need. In contrast, version 8 used a more object-oriented approach where we called those functions or methods directly on Firebase objects. But by using a more functional approach and only importing the functions that we need, we can take advantage of something called tree shaking, which is where any unused code or functions can be removed from our final bundled JavaScript file. To do that, we'll need to use a module bundler like Webpack or Rollup, but we'll talk more about that in the next lesson. For now, the main takeaway point is that using Firebase 9 in this functional way means more optimized output code and a smaller file size. Now, if we quickly take a look at the code examples on the Firebase docs, we can see the difference in how we use Firebase 8 and 9 by switching between the two tabs. And you'll notice that when we select version 9, the individual functions that we need are imported from the Firebase libraries. But when we select version 8, the functions are called directly on the Firebase object. So this is the major difference between how Firebase versions 8 and 9 differ. And we'll be seeing how to use version 9 using the Firestore database and the Firebase auth service.
Hi guys, so if you are from Indonesia and if you want to work remotely and
bundle that we'll link to from our HTML page. Now, if you're creating your website with a CLI tool like Create React App or the Vue CLI or something like that, then most of the time Webpack or another module bundler is automatically set up for you. So in those cases, you won't need to manually set it up yourself, and you can go right ahead and just start using Firebase 9 from the get-go. However, if you're not using a CLI tool to build your site and you're just making a regular site using HTML and vanilla JavaScript, then you'll need to set up a module bundler yourself. Now, I don't want to assume that you're using a CLI tool like the Vue CLI or Create React App to build your website. So I'll be showing you how to set up Webpack to bundle our code in this lesson. And then in the next lesson, we'll start to use Firebase 9. So if you want to skip this lesson, if you already know how to do this, then be my guest. So I've already got open a project folder in VS Code which has nothing in it at all to begin with. The first thing I'm going to do is create a source folder, which is where all of our source JavaScript code is going to live. And to do this, we'll be using npm, the Node Package Manager, so it's important at this point to make sure you have Node.js installed on your computer. If you don't, then you can download it and install it at nodejs.org. Once you've done that, you can a custom script in our package.json file. and I'm going to run our new script by typing npm run and then the name of the script, which is build. And when I do that, Webpack will take our source. Alright then, so now we have Webpack set up. The next thing we need to do is create a new Firebase project. A name, really doesn't matter what it is. Again, I'm going to call it Firebase Dojo website, something like that. We don't need to set up hosting. Register the application first of all.